pressure and the weight that we put on romantic relationships that we don't put on any other relationship. We don't put the same pressure or the same weight on friendships. We don't put the same pressure, the same weight on parent-child. We don't put the same pressure or the same weight on brother, sister. We just don't do that. And I think part of the reason for that has been a lot of just conditioning of these fairy tales that we think are supposed to be real. And people throughout generations just keep making the same mistakes over and over because we have this idea that at some point we are going to be the one to figure out how to make the honeymoon phase last forever with somebody. Yeah. And the thing is that it's not possible because the same way that when you do a new drug, you're never going to feel that high again. You're going to have to try and up the dose. You're going to have to try and do all these other things in order to feel that high again.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Couples Development Podcast. I am your co-host, Coach Clark, and I am here with my wife, Coach Mel, and we are relationship coaches, and we're here to talk about everything relationships. So today, what topic would you like to discuss?
Yeah, so usually you pick the topics for the week, but today I went ahead and chose a topic. Okay. And I thought that we could discuss the problem with love.
Okay. There's a problem with love. Okay.
Yeah. Right. So I was thinking that we should start by explaining the honeymoon stage first, and then we can get into it.
So basically, like the problems that can come up in love, per se, in a relationship.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. All right.
Okay. The honeymoon phase of a romantic relationship is characterized by intense feelings of attraction, lust, and infatuation with our partner. This stage is usually overflowing with passion, affection, and a heightened sense of euphoria. But it's not all in our heads. There's a biological basis behind this whirlwind of emotions. Several love hormones, dopamine, serotonin, norepinephrine, etc., play a significant role in fostering the strong bond and feelings that emerge during this phase. During the honeymoon phase, these hormones and neurotransmitters work in tandem, creating a potent cocktail of emotions and physical reactions that can make us feel overwhelmingly in love and attached to our partners. However, as relationships evolve and progress, the intensity of these hormones gradually decreases, paving the way for more stable feelings of attachment and love. Understanding the role of these love hormones offers insight into why the honeymoon phase feels so electric and intense, and also why it's temporary by nature. As relationships move past this phase, they transition from passionate love, driven by these hormones, to a more compassionate, deep-rooted love anchored in commitment, friendship, trust, understanding, and mutual respect. Staying in love, the intoxication, the hangover, and the sober reality. Imagine you're at a club in Miami. The room is filled with energy, and you're handed a glass of the most potent cocktail you've ever had. Let's call it love elixir. This is the intoxication phase, reminiscent of the honeymoon stage in a relationship. You sip on this elixir, and everything feels amplified. The world's imperfections are a blur. Every touch sends tingles down your spine, and every moment feels perfect. This intoxication is akin to the rush of love hormones that flood our system when we first fall in love, giving us that exhilarating feeling of being on top of the world. But as with any intoxicant, the initial high is often followed by a hangover. The sun rises, the club is closing, and the effects of the elixir start to wear off. The room isn't as bright, the laughter not as loud, and there's a subtle throbbing at your temples. This mirrors the post-honeymoon phase in relationships, when the intensity of the initial love hormone starts to wear off. Minor imperfections become more noticeable, little annoyances creep in, and the indestructibility you felt starts to crack. This is the relationship's hangover phase. where the realities of everyday life begin to challenge the idealized view of love you once had. But then comes the choice. Do you reach for another drink, another short-lived high with a new partner, or do you choose to embrace the sober reality? Opting for sobriety in this analogy represents the conscious decision to love authentically. To be sober in love is to understand and accept your partner without the blinding effects of intoxication. It's recognizing that true love isn't just about the highs, but also about navigating the lows together. Being sober means facing challenges head-on without the help of the love elixir. It's about building a genuine connection that's based on understanding, commitment, friendship, and trust. Much like how we might choose sobriety to experience life in its rawest form without the haze of drugs, opting for a sober love means cherishing a relationship without the constant need for the high of the honeymoon phase. It's about finding beauty in the mundane, strength in vulnerability, and love in the everyday acts of kindness and understanding. The journey of lasting love is like the experience of intoxication, the aftermath of a hangover, and the clarity of sobriety. To truly stay in love is to evolve from the dizzying highs of intoxication to the authentic connection of sober love, appreciating every step of the journey. So what are your thoughts on that? What is it that makes people think that if they're truly in love with each other, that their entire relationship till death do us part should be in the honeymoon phase?
I don't know if people who are in relationships even know. I mean, they hear about certain things, but even know, like, are cognizant or aware that they're actually in a honeymoon phase or in a phase or so on and so forth. They just know, like, I do this thing with this person and it makes me feel good doing it. Hanging out with this person, chilling with this person, and so on and so forth. And so it's kind of like, it's like, for example, when you're with friends, I don't know if people experience like a honeymoon phase with friends. It's like, you look forward to friends. Like when you receive a text from a friend, people's faces light up and so on and so forth. Meanwhile, you'll see, memes or jokes where a person in a relationship sees that it's their significant other calling, they're like, oh, or you'll see a text coming in. It's like, it's not like the same thing. And so I think that the people who are, I think there are two different sides of it. There are, and it's typically, stereotypically the men who are more like the stoic, unemotional ones, and then the women who are more so on the histrionic or emotional ones per se, right? People are always looking. I think people are always looking to for proof of things or to confirm their biases. And so I don't think, like I said, I don't necessarily think people are like, okay, I met this person, I like them, I am now in a honeymoon phase. It's like, I went to this restaurant, the food was good, I will go again. It was great again, I will go again. It's like, I feel like, or, right, people pick what people do things they enjoy doing. This TV show episode was good, I will watch the next one, right? And so I don't know if there's like, it's like, I don't know if there's like a phase for the things people enjoy doing per se. And so I think because of that, they're trying to figure out what's going on here. Like, if a woman likes her yoga, a woman likes her Saturday brunch with her girls, a woman likes girls' night out, right? And she has times where she wants to sleep, but never gets tired of it. A dude likes to go shoot hoops with his boys, or hang out with his boys, or go to the game with his boys, whatever it is. He never gets tired of that. There's no like, this is a different phase now, right? So what is it about me being with this person that, I don't know, like there's something, what's going on here? And so I think that plays a lot with it. And then also, like, for example, just using stereotypes, when, I don't know, let's say if a woman, just using stereotypes, if a woman is approached by a guy she finds handsome, right? Not that she's going to cheat or anything, but a handsome guy she finds attractive approaches, she's, she's going to feel type of way about it, right? He might say, excuse me, miss, you're beautiful, blah, blah. Oh, I have a boyfriend, but that could make her day. Whereas her boyfriend, husband could have said the same thing and not held the same weight, maybe. right? Or the other way around. I don't know. Cute girl, new hire comes into the office, whatever, and the guy sees her like, oh, she's attractive, and like he thinks about, but it's like but that doesn't mean he's not attracted to who he's with. It's like I guess people get comfortable, people get used. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
And so and then people start to question, why am I so curious about this girl? Why does this guy make me feel a certain way, even though I'm not pursuing anything with him, nor that I want to? But it's like there's this, like you said, the beauty in the mundane, right? But it's like when I'm with this person, it's like there's a what's missing type of thing. And then people start to panic, and people start to feel anxious. I mean, it depends on which side they are. Like the other side, the stoic, space people, whatever, is kind of like whatever. And then the other side, who are histrionic and emotional, are kind of like, oh my God, what's going on? So, so that's I think that plays a lot into why people expect the honeymoon phase, because it feels good. It but there's nothing like the beauty in the mundane is a great way of putting it. But when if anyone describes, hey, would you like to go to this mundane concert? Would you like to go to this mundane? Nobody's like, it's like, I don't want to do that. And so, hey, do you want to go to this exciting, hot, sexy, new, like, I mean, I'm kind of tired, but sounds good. Maybe I'll, give me a ring, so that's my long answer, I guess. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. I think that people, even though they may not call it the honeymoon phase, I think people generally know that their relationships go through a honeymoon phase. And the reason I say that is because people usually say it's different than the beginning. So they're basically saying the same thing. So they're not using the term honeymoon phase, but when they say it was different in the beginning, that's really what they're describing. They're describing that honeymoon phase. And what you were saying about friendships, this is the thing. Friendships go through an idealization phase as well. So for example, when you first meet somebody new, if they say they like your favorite movie, or if they say they like your favorite restaurant, or if they say they like your favorite TV show, your favorite,
become best friends,
your favorite book, you're going to create this idealized story in your mind that we are exactly the same. But as that friendship develops, you start to recognize the aspects where you differ. You're like, oh, I don't do that. I don't do that. We're different here. We're different there. So friendships also go through that idealization phase. I think the difference is the pressure and the weight that we put on romantic relationships that we don't put on any other relationship. We don't put the same pressure or the same weight on friendships. We don't put the same pressure, the same weight on parent-child. We don't put the same pressure or the same weight on brother, sister. We just don't do that. And I think part of the reason for that has been a lot of just conditioning of these fairy tales that we think are supposed to be real. And people throughout generations just keep making the same mistakes over and over, because we have this idea that at some point we are going to be the one to figure out how to make the honeymoon phase last forever with somebody. And the thing is that it's not possible, because the same way that when you do a new drug, you're never going to feel that high again. You're going to have to try and up the dose. You're going to have to try and do all these other things in order to feel that high again. And it works the exact same way. So to answer your question about when you're working at work and you see a cute girl, what is it that feels so much better about that? The answer to that is the uncertainty and the anticipation. So you're getting hit with dopamine when you're creating the idealized story in your mind about who this person is, how they're going to be with me, and all of that. You're creating that story. The problem with your partner, like you were saying with the mundane, is that your partner leaves little room for creating story. So because your partner tells you who they are, you have a lot of day in and day out interactions with your partner. So it makes it a lot harder for you to create stories in your mind about who this person is. But when it's someone that's not your partner, you can create whatever fantasy you want, whatever story you want, in your mind. And for example, one of the first things that we learn going through relationship coaching is that some of your clients might think they're falling in love with you. And the reason for that is because you're saying all the right things. They're being validated. They're being validated in a way that their partners don't validate them. So they can mistake that for falling in love with a coach or falling in love with a therapist. So even though the whole thing is a falsified story, because you meet with a coach or therapist 1 hour a week, and it's also a very one-sided exchange. You don't even recognize that as that therapist or as that coach is validating you, that you're not giving them anything in return. So even if you're in your mind, you're thinking, I'm falling in love with this person, you're not really recognizing that it's a one-sided story that's being created. Do you understand what I mean?
I do.
Yeah.
That all that, like I said, all that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's just for me, like you just said, you just took the word out of my head. Like it's like drugs.
Yeah.
The thing about people who enjoy drugs or people who enjoy a glass of wine or drink or whatever it is, right? You know, there's like you said, the elixir, which is such a great example. People will drink until they sometimes black out or they throw up the next day, hangover. I'm never doing this again.
And then they do it again. Yeah.
Well, because because clearing your mind and not, worrying and chilling out and relaxing and just whatever it is in the moment feels good.
And it's also easier.
And it's easier.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's like, again, with drugs, right? It, like you said, the first time and it's like, well, let me keep doing it. It's like, well, they know it's not going to happen, but it's still chased regardless.
Yeah.
And so I think what happens is that with people who saying, oh, it was better in the beginning, I think that it's like revisionist. It's like playing Monday morning quarterback, right? Where when they're in it, they're not, wait, I'm in love. I'm in the honeymoon stage right now. So let me not. No, they're like, this is like all it is I was lonely before, or my past relationship was rocky, or I was unsatisfied with my last relationship. And right now I'm clicking with this person. And it's like to sit there and to, let's be logical about this. This is probably the honeymoon stage. This is probably not going to last 6 months to 2 years. It's not the natural, my opinion, human thing to do. The natural human thing to do is if you're getting a massage and it feels good, you'll tell the person, oh, that's good. Or, oh, move over there, keep going.
Yeah.
You're, like, don't stop. Right. And I guess that's what happens. I think people just, there are people who love the falling in love stage, or, that, which is all just chemicals, like, like you said in the previous video.
Yeah.
And it, and then all of a sudden that goes away. And then all of a sudden, like you said, the beer goggles are off or the relationship goggles are off and the elixir wears off. And then it's like, this person snores.
And they'll say this person changed.
They changed, right?
Yeah.
They have weird habits and this, that, and the other. And it's not the same. And why does this guy understand me more? Or why does this girl, validate me? Whatever the hell it is.
Yeah.
And all she said is, did you see the game yesterday? And you're like, yeah, it was great.
And
cool.
then the story starts. She's perfect.
She's perfect. She likes basketball. Wow. She's, and then it's like everything. It's this guy, like, this book I read. Oh, he reads. Oh, everything. Perfect. Right. So whatever. And so I think that I understand it, I understand it a little too well, to be honest. And it just is what it is, man.
Yeah,
it's just, there's always, I feel like there's always going to be, again, stereotypically, again, 80-20, 80% is going to be like the women who are, the romance and pomp and circumstance and this and the Prince Charming crap, blah, blah, blah. He stopped doing that. And then the guy is like, in the beginning, I mean, in the car, in the bathroom, at work, at wherever. I mean, just couldn't keep her hands off me. And all of a sudden, like, what's going on here? And, well, maybe she doesn't like me anymore. And then she's like, maybe he doesn't care about me anymore.
Yeah.
I remember there was this example. There was this lawyer on YouTube, a divorce lawyer. And he was talking about a story where he mentioned there was I think a woman who filed for divorce, I think, right? And she saying the story about her husband that when they first got together, he would she loved granola, right? And they had like an old plastic bin or something like that. And every time it would start getting low, he'd buy some more and refill it for her every time without her asking, right? And to the point where it started, she stopped saying thank you for it because it was just kind of like
mundane now.
It's mundane.
It's not important anymore. Well, it's not a big deal anymore.
It's not a big deal because it's like it was her norm.
It became routine. Yeah.
Right. It's like buying toilet paper or something like that, right? Okay. So it's like, oh my God, thank you so much for that. Before it's like, oh, thank you, that was sweet. Oh, thank you. And then it's like it just became.
Yeah.
And then what happened was because she kind of like stopped in his mind appreciating it per se. Those were his words. And he was like, well, maybe she doesn't care about this anymore. And he stopped putting the granola finished, and she went to get some, and she noticed that, where's the granola? And what happened is the guy, I guess, either stopped, forgot, or whatever the hell it is, right? Because either, I forgot the whole story, but one or the other. And her seeing that, now she was like, wait, okay, let me see when he's going to fill this granola up.
Yeah.
And he never did.
Yeah.
And she said that moment was the day she decided that she's done with the relationship.
It makes sense to me.
And it's like something that I didn't, he's like, I didn't even think you cared about this anymore, right? Because you didn't verbalize it. And then it's like, and also I think too, I know I'm going long here, but people, I think sometimes, again, I feel like the more anxious, emotional people, they may look for reasons and signs of, there it is. And all it is trying to protect herself from being hurt later on.
And being vulnerable.
And being vulnerable.
Yeah.
Right? And so, whatever. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, that story actually makes a lot of sense to me, because both partners were avoiding opening their mouths is really what happened. Because when he noticed he started having those thoughts that, oh, she doesn't appreciate this anymore. The constructive and loving and caring and curious thing to do there is say, hey, babe, I noticed that you don't, blah, blah, blah with the granola anymore. Do you not like it anymore? Do you want me to get you something different? Whatever. Then she can be like, oh, no, babe, I love the granola. It's just life is life, right? Then he can get his answer. And on the other end, it will be the same thing for her, where when she gets to the point when she notices he stops filling it, to say, hey, babe, I noticed you stopped filling the granola. So I'm in that example, it's just people don't want to be vulnerable, and they're afraid of asking for the things that they desire. And often with partners, even when they think they're asking, they're actually accusing. So they will think they're asking for something when they're actually just attacking or accusing their partner. So then they'll tell the partner, oh, I already told you. And the partner's like, when did you tell me? You never told me this. Because the person who had the complaint didn't recognize that they were doing it in a very accusatory or attacking, fashion. In their minds, they're sharing a need or they're sharing a feeling, but that's not actually what they're doing.
Can you break down, can you give an example of the same thing being like the guy with an example, the guy or girl, whatever you want to do, actually a woman, basically bringing a complaint to her husband or friend, and it being accusatory as opposed to, what's the other, I forgot the other word, accusatory as opposed to being constructive and a complaint type of thing.
Yeah. So for example, accusatory is, you don't appreciate me. That's an attack, right? That's not saying asking for what you need. You're just attacking your partner. Now, saying what you need is, hey, babe, I really like it when you fill the granola. It makes me feel like you love me. I would really appreciate if you continue to do that for me. That means a lot to me. That's a very different way of approaching the exact same topic. But what happens is, there's two things that happens that makes this process extremely complicated for us as humans, is that one, we can't shut off our stories. It's not that we can't, but until we learn to shut off our stories, we think our stories are facts.
What stories? What do you mean by that?
He's not feeling this because he doesn't love me anymore. Did he tell you that? Or did you tell yourself that? He's not feeling this because he doesn't appreciate me anymore. Did he tell you that? Or did you tell yourself that?
He's not doing the thing because
of whatever you're telling. That's your story. You're creating a story why somebody else is doing something without realizing you never asked them, right? But if we stop and we say, oh, wait, did my partner tell me this or did I tell myself this? It can be a really powerful thing to do. But what makes that really hard is that when we are in a feeling, we can't think straight. So often we'll tell couples, hey, when you're in a feeling, don't try and talk to it in that moment. Pause, say, hey, we're going to go do something. You go go play ball, whatever, if you want to. I'm going to go, read a book or get my nails done. And then we'll come back and talk about this when both of us are calm. Because when you're in a feeling, you think you're being logical, you think you're being rational, and you're just really not. So, yeah.
No, I hear you. That all makes sense. It's easier with that.
Of course. It's easier. It's kind of like the best way to describe the honeymoon phase is the way that we'll look at gamblers and say, why can't you just stop? The reason is because gamblers in their mind are, at some point, I'm going to beat it. Yeah. So when we think that at some point we're going to be the one that beats the honeymoon stage and be able to do it with somebody forever, that's basically what we're doing. We think at some point I'm going to beat this. Yeah. If I can't beat this with this partner, I'm going to beat this with the next partner. Yeah. If I can't beat it with the next partner, I'm going to beat it. So it's kind of like a gambling addiction to where we think that at some point we can beat the system. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I do.
Yeah.
And the way it shows. So that's, I see that almost as like, I mean, it's both sexes, but I kind of see that being more like the guy's experience. The way, give me a second. Well,
I don't agree with that, but I'll hear it.
Yeah. Well, meaning like, I'm going to beat this. I'm going to find the woman that, does everything, right? The other way, what I hear a lot with women is, I'm not settling.
Yeah.
So
that's I'm going to beat it.
Right. Well, so there you go. So it's like, I'm just saying kind of like, you don't necessarily hear men saying I'm not settling, right? It's typically women who are like, I'm not settling for these, crusty, whatever guys, blah, 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 dusties, whatever they call them, right? And he makes decent money, but maybe less than her, not settling. He makes more money and, I don't know, whatever. It's like, I think you were even watching, you told me that you were watching a YouTube video interview where there were women saying that, like, I think some woman who was like 60 something years old.
Yeah.
Who she finally got married at 60. And then, well, you can tell me.
No, that's all that it was. Yeah. And a lot of the comments were, I found it to be, this is what it is for me, right? I think that there's a certain level of grieving that we try to avoid doing as human beings. So we look for the comfort over the grieving. And in order for us to get the things that we actually want out of life, we have to go through that grieving process. And I'll explain to you what I mean by that. So I'm living my best life. I'm 55. I'm living my best life. One day I'm going to meet the man that I want to meet. I'm
never going to settle.
There's a grieving that would be necessary to say, this is not what I wanted for myself. There's do you understand what I'm saying? Like a radical acceptance and a grieving process of being able to say, this is not what I wanted for myself. And feeling that pain and feeling that hurt and feeling that disappointment and processing those feelings. And then on the other end of that, it's going to be a true, like, okay, I'm ready to meet that person now. But what we do instead is we ignore the fact that we're in pain. We try and pretend like we're not in pain. We try and pretend that we don't feel disappointed. We try and pretend that we don't feel regrets. And it's not really helpful. We do it because it's easier. Yeah. Because grieving the life you thought you were going to have is not an easy thing to do. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. So it makes perfect sense why we do it. But until we go through that grieving process, it's very hard for us to come out on the other side feeling more joy, more peace. It's just very hard to get to that point. So when there was the 60-year-old, and I didn't have an issue with it, it was more so, I don't really like when we sell to women that, I'm just one of those people I feel like, for example, with the honeymoon stage thing, I think radical acceptance of this is a part of a relationship and then the next phase will come helps people to make their relationship last in a happy way. Yeah. Because now both partners are actually seeing each other. And then once they're actually seeing each other, then these other hormones start to kick in, the oxytocin, and then you can bring the dopamine back in. But you can't do that while you're thinking this is the honeymoon stage way is the only true real love way to do it. That's why it's going to be very hard to get back to that cycle of feeling the oxytocin, that dopamine again, because you're just so stuck in seeing your relationship in a negative way. So I don't think I answered your question, but I just remember seeing that interview and feeling,
because women,
there's a little bit frustrated.
A lot of women in the comments, you just were saying that, see, this is proof that ladies, you don't have to settle. Yeah. When the right one is out there, and when the right one comes, it's going to come. Something like that. Yeah, that's basically what it was. They were saying. Yeah, and I found myself getting a little frustrated, not for the older women, not at all, because I think that once you're at that age, you can't go backward. So it wasn't really for that, but it was more so for the younger women that were reading it. My heart kind of went out to them. I felt a little bit frustrated because as they're reading these comments, they're not.
having an older woman tell them, hey, you have to radically accept that when you're in a relationship, there's going to be flaws. There's going to be challenges. You're going to go through a honeymoon phase. He's going to, dig his nose in bed with you. He's going to forget sometimes to change his shirt, to just tell those realities of what a loving relationship looks like. And I just think that that's more helpful for people. Yeah. And it's also not only helpful for adults, but I think it's more helpful for children to grow up in two-parent families. Because when you have a husband or a wife who are stuck in this idealized phase of what love is supposed to look like, they're more likely to break up their families looking for chasing that high than when they can radically accept that part of our human condition is we go through this honeymoon phase, and the point of that honeymoon phase is for us to bond. That's the point, to connect us to each other. And then the next phase is to really get to know each other. So that first 3 months to 2 years, that's really how long the honeymoon phase typically lasts. And after that, it starts to like plummet. And to be able to say, you know what, after this phase, after this 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, whatever, now I can radically, truly choose my partner. Do you understand what I'm saying? And like, I like that he likes this. I like that she does this. I like that he dresses, and really consciously make that decision. So I always say that going from the honeymoon phase is the lie. And then after you go through that phase that's bonded you, now the second phase is to choose friendship with benefits over that false idealized honeymoon phase. That's what I think a romantic relationship that lasts actually means. They need to be able to go from that, I was high as hell for 2 years. I don't even know who this person is. I woke up and I'm looking like, who the hell are you? And what are you doing in my house? Because I just came off of that high, right? Stranger. Yeah, I just came off of that high. Now it's like, we're friends now. Plus there are benefits to that as well. I think that a lot of people can struggle to make that transition. And once that honeymoon phase starts to wear off, they think we're falling out of love. But what's actually happening is you're falling into a true love that most people never get to experience in their life. That's what's actually happening. Yeah. But it can feel scary to go through that process, and 100%. It makes sense.
Yeah. Anyone can have sex.
Yeah.
With no feelings.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Good point. A bit about, I'm trying to, mix in a little bit of the science with this, right? Yeah. So, for those who don't know about attachment theory, we spoke about it in another video, but you can Google it, somewhere out there. Attachment theory is basically the idea about how, your upbringing and how your parents took care or didn't take care of you, and how it made you, how you attach to people as an adult. So there's pretty much like 3 different types. There's anxiously attached, there's avoidant attachment, and then there's disorganized attachment, which is kind
fearful
of like
avoidant.
Fearful avoidant, which is like a combination of the two, right? So the reason why I'm bringing this in is for context. So the one who's avoidant attached is typically going to resist like connection. They're going to feel they're the one that's going to feel smothered in the relationship by too much physical touch or too much closeness or too much they kind of like need their space. Yeah. And the anxiously attached one is the one that's sending text messages. Where are you? How long? Where, I miss you. What are you doing? Where are you at? Things like that. Like constantly. Where people they would be considered clingy per se. Yeah. So, like I said, there's some people who like the closeness and people who like their distance and so on and so forth, right? So, which also ties into the maximizer minimizer dynamic, right? As we spoke in another video, the maximizer in a relationship is one who's emotional, who needs to talk about their emotions, what's going on, what's happening, why, very, very scared of everything. And the minimizer is the one who needs their space, needs their time to think and process, right? So with the example we're talking about in terms of the honeymoon stage, is it fair to say that those who suffer the most in terms of longing for that honeymoon stage to be longer, is it fair to say that the ones who are more prone to be anxiously attached are the ones who would suffer the most in that?
I can't say that. I don't know. I honestly don't know that, because I wouldn't even know how to guess that, because I wouldn't even know how to guess that.
I'm just having a theory because because when you, again, I'm just thinking of the avoidant type. They don't want to be alone. It's like, I remember this comedian said, women don't understand. It's a guy. Women don't understand that they don't want to be alone. They just want to be left alone. Or something like
they
that.
want to be alone together.
They want to be alone together, right? Just
you go over there. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so, and then the woman was saying, the woman came in like, what are you doing? What are you watching? He's like, oh God, that whole thing, right? And so, yeah, this is a theory I'm having, because if that person who is anxiously attached, that's like, oh my God, he just texted me, or oh my God, like, I can't believe I have this girl, whatever the hell it is, right? I'm both ends, right? Once those things start happening less and less, they're going to start becoming more anxious, I'm assuming, like, why is this happening?
Yeah.
Why is this not happening? And then they're going to sort of kind of start bringing up things in a relationship that can borderline self-sabotage a relationship, right? And so I was just thinking, like, I'm just trying to stick by, okay, let's do this. How do you think someone, because I'm pretty sure there are women who are avoidant attached and there are women who are anxiously attached, right? The stereotypical woman is anxiously attached, right? Yeah. She's crazy, oh my God, whatever. Yeah. How do you think, so I think it's kind of easy for most people to picture how the honeymoon stage can show up and affect someone who's anxiously attached. How do you think it would show up for someone who's avoidantly attached?
That's a good question. I don't have a lot to really answer that question, but I would assume it affects them similarly, because remember, both the anxiously attached person and the avoidantly attached person have the similar core wound, which is going to be rejection or abandonment, something like that. They just handle it differently. So, for example, the anxious is like, I'm going to keep clinging so you don't leave me. And the avoidant is like, I'm going to make sure I don't need you so that if you do leave me, I ain't going to feel nothing.
Right.
But it's still coming from a space of fear of abandonment, rejection, that type of thing. That's what both people are really trying to avoid. So I want to answer your question. I wouldn't even know how to guess the answer. I just don't know. But I can say that neither the anxious nor the avoidant wants their relationship to break up. Neither partner has the skills or the tools until they get the help that they need to recognize that they're the ones causing themselves to be abandoned by other people through their behaviors. So it's kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy in a way, where it's like, I'm going to do the things that make you want to leave me so I can confirm that I'm not lovable. So I'm just going to keep sabotaging and creating.
What the anxious person thinks?
Both will do it. They just do it in different ways. So for example, avoidance can get abandoned and until they get the help that they need, feel confused. Well, what did I do wrong? And the other partner is going to be like, well, you were never available. You were working all the time. You know what I'm saying? But that avoidant person is like, I didn't do anything wrong. But until they both, if someone has an anxious attachment or an avoidant attachment, until they get the help that they need, it's hard for them to see the behaviors that they're displaying in their relationship that's causing them to be abandoned, and that's causing them to lose their partner. So for example, an anxious person it's hard for them to recognize that they are causing their partner to distance themselves. So the thing that they don't want is what they're causing to actually happen. So meaning if a man is at work all day and his girlfriend, his wife keeps texting him over and over and over, she's going to put him in a position where he has no choice but to maybe turn his phone off. Now, when he turns his phone off, now she's going to feel abandoned. But confirming that belief that he's leaving me, he doesn't love me, I'm not lovable. But that person, that woman that was anxiously attached would not even recognize that chain reaction started with her texting over and over. So it would take her recognizing that cause and effect chain reaction and her role in it in order for her to be like, oh, I can see that now. I really need to change that behavior. And the same thing for the avoidant person.
Yeah. I get that. I guess so. Trying to find another angle here. So the person who is avoidant, So, because I know you said you didn't really know you don't really know. I'm just trying to think like how, because again, it's super easy to picture an anxiously attached person.
Of course.
And why, the honeymoon phase is so important to them.
Yeah.
I can see how the honeymoon phase can actually annoy an avoidantly attached person.
I don't know if I can say that.
Because here's what I'm trying to say, right? Okay. Yeah. The anxiously attached person, they want, like, where are you? Let's, oh my God, hold hands, hold me, hug me, like all the time, everywhere, right? Yeah. And it's like, so how I'm picturing it, right? If you're with an anxiously attached person and you never say no, they will never stop asking. Like it's like almost like I can never get enough, right?
They will never start asking, you mean?
Well, no,
because they don't ask.
Well, that's what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
Right. So stereotypical anxiously attached woman, right? I miss you. Where are you? Oh, I'm just laying down. I wish you were here with me. And he's like, you want me to come over? Like, yes. And every time she asks and he does that, like she's never going to be like, oh no, it's okay. No, she's going to be like, yes. Like every single time. Like it's kind of like the whole saying, you give someone a foot, they'll take it one step beyond type of thing, right? So that versus like for another thing, I'm just using another example here, kind of like past the honeymoon phase, right? An anxiously attached person will be like, you know what? I'm out of here. I can't take this anymore. And the avoidant person will be like, okay. Yeah. And then because it's like the 8 Mile thing, like basically, I'm not going to get worked up. I'm not going to show you that I'm getting worked up that you're leaving because I'm going to get in my feelings and you're going to hurt me. So I am expecting you to dip anyway and leave anyway. So you know what? Go ahead. I'm just going to stay here and it's going to minimize how bad this feels. Yeah. Right. And which is going to make so you can be like, yeah, whatever, go ahead. Yeah. Which is then going to make the anxious person feel even more anxious. Yeah.
And that's, but the thing too is that minimization that the avoidant person does is not conscious. It's a defense mechanism. So because they're just defense mechanisms that people aren't even aware that they're applying until they become aware that they're applying them. Yeah. So an avoidant person, when they say, all right, cool, they really do think they don't care. Yeah. You understand what I'm saying? Because it's just a defense mechanism. It usually will take them a little bit of work to recognize that, oh God, I'm not doing this right here, and that's for both people. So I wonder, and I feel like power dynamics in play here too, because there are all these rules that you hear, like, oh, a man has to love you more than you love him, or a woman has to love you more than you love him. All that stuff, right? And it almost comes across to me that the people telling the person that you need to be with someone who's anxiously attached to you or who's anxiously attached, right? Because the way it shows love, he's like, I think you were saying another pod that we were doing, that a lot of times, oftentimes, people who are that way are going to be viewed as the people who are passionate and really love, as opposed to the avoidant person is like, oh, they just don't care. Yeah, but that's more so women that do that. So, for example, even if you go on in certain spaces that are talking about attachment styles, you're going to see a lot of women. If you just go to any space that's talking about it, just read the comments. You're going to see a lot of women that spin the story that the anxious is good and the avoidant is bad. But they're both maladaptive, both of them. Neither one is better than the other. Right. In their minds, they think that because I'm doing these things and showing you how much I want you and showing you how much I need you and clinging to you, that means it's better than what you're doing to me. Correct. So they create this hierarchy where they say the anxious is better than the avoidant. But that's not true. It just doesn't work out that way. Yeah. So I was thinking of it. I haven't really seen a lot of men do that, if I'm honest, like online, but I have seen like a lot of spaces where it's women saying the anxious is better than the avoidant person. I can see that. It's just more so, I'm just thinking of it in the whole dynamic of the relationship. If one person, the person who's considered clinging to a relationship is going to come across that they're more needy and more of desiring of this person, and they love this person more and everything else. And that's why I said it sounds like that advice is get with someone who's anxious about you, right? Because if you do that, it's almost like you'll always be in control or lead the relationship. But that's what's interesting is actually quite opposite because the anxious person tends to, what's the word? They tend to be very manipulative. And manipulation at its core is a tool of maintaining control. So I understand the logic behind when people say that, but in reality, it kind of works out the opposite way. So I'm going to give you an example. We're just going to go stereotype. The woman is anxious, the man is avoidant, just because it's easier for people to picture.
Like, whatever.
So I'll give you.
You listen to me.
All of that. So I'll give you an example here where the anxious person is going to say, "Look at how much I love you." That's what she's going to say. Look at how much I love you. What she's not going to recognize is the negative impact she's having on him. And it's not going to, and it's going to mean very little to her as well. Because in her mind, she's created the story that she's the loving one in that relationship. I'm the one that cares. I'm the loving one. Right. But what happens is that man, that we'll just say the avoidantly attached person, as she's doing her emotional, throwing all her emotions and feelings at him, his body's becoming emotionally flooded. So if he goes to her and says, "Babe, I need some time," she would have had to do some work in therapy to even be able to not view him saying, "Hey, I need a little bit of time," as abandonment. Because typically she'll ignore the fact that he's going to say, "Hey, babe, I need some time. I need a little break here." And she will interpret that as abandonment and try even harder and flood him emotionally even more. So his system is being emotionally flooded. She's saying, "I'm the loving one here," without recognizing she's lacking empathy in that moment because she's not taking care of him in that moment. She's taking care of herself. And she's meeting whatever needs she has in that moment and not the need that he would have in that moment, which would be, "Hey, babe, I need a little bit of break here." Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
And bringing it back to, the problem with love, in the beginning, it was much better in the beginning.
Yeah.
Do you think that some people are able, do you think some couples are able to stay, okay, you already defined the honeymoon stage, but do you think some couples are able to stay in a honeymoon stage a lot longer than other couples can? Do you think?
No, research wise, it's max 2, sometimes also for very few people 3 years max. Yeah. Yeah. Often when people think that they were in it longer, they're just not real. They're kind of idealizing their relationship in a way. And they're forgetting a lot of the bad. Or they're forgetting, you know what I'm saying? So that's what tends to happen.
I think what can also happen too is for the people who use physical intimacy as like a marker for how good the relationship is and how healthy the relationship is. I think they can also see it as, well, we're still doing this, so we're better than them.
And therefore we're still in the honeymoon stage.
And so what it really is like you not seeing any wrong with this person at all. This person is pristine, perfect, whatever. People should get married the first year. Right?
No, they actually shouldn't. I actually think that it's best for people to date for, and I'm going to say 25 plus. I'm not going to speak to people under 25. 25 plus, that probably 3 to 4 years of dating before marriage is the right amount of time. I'm going to say the reason why. Because you've already gone through the honeymoon stage. Because if you get married during the honeymoon stage, and then after, you're going to be like, "Oh shit, you changed. Who the hell are you?" Wow. Because often one of the biggest time frames for people to get divorced is within the first 2 to 4 years. It's like right at the beginning of the marriage. You understand what I'm saying?
In that time span, you said people should date 2 to 4 years, pretty much.
No, I say 3 to 4.
Afterwards.
That's just a personal opinion. And my reason for that is you're likely to be past the honeymoon stage. So you're not seeing a fake person. You don't think your partner is somebody that they're not. You're able to truly see your partner for who they are. So that's part of the reason why I say that, to give you at least 1 to 2 years of seeing the true person that you're in a relationship and not the story or this idealized person that you created in your mind. That's just, but again, that's just my
honeymoon stage.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Give it.
No, I'm saying the person you create in your mind.
Correct.
While in the honeymoon stage.
But it's just my personal opinion that I think that 3 to 4 years of dating, anything beyond that, I think is just a waste of your time. If I'm honest, definitely anything beyond 5 years is definitely a waste of your time, because you definitely don't need more than 5 years to know whether or not the person that you're with is the person you want to marry. So,
Right. And so I'm asking, so in those 3 to 4 years, should they be engaged?
Well,
or it's like, don't even get engaged until 3 to 4 years after.
I have an unpopular opinion about that.
Yeah.
So, which is society has created a third category called boyfriend and girlfriend. But we don't realize that.
Wait, what is the first and second? Oh, single, married.
I'm going to explain.
Boyfriend and girlfriend. Is that
single, then boyfriend and girlfriend, then engaged, then married.
So it's 4 categories per se.
But we have 3 committed categories. We have 3 committed monogamous categories.
Got it.
Boyfriend and girlfriend.
Interesting.
Engaged and married.
I remember we were watching a podcast where a man was saying that he doesn't believe in boyfriend and girlfriend.
I don't either.
Single.
That's why I said it's an unpopular opinion. The reason why I say that is because we have one single category, which means you're non-monogamous, you're dating whoever, you're banging whoever. Why do we need 3 monogamous committed categories, boyfriend and girlfriend, engaged and married? Why do we need 3 of them? I know it's an unpopular thing to say, but really think about it. Why do we need 3 of them?
I mean,
versus single.
It sounds like some possessive type.
Possessive? What do you mean?
Meaning if it's single, engaged, married, which is what I'm assuming should be the 3 categories, right? Okay. A guy meets a girl, they hit it off, and he does not want to speak to any other woman. Yeah. He's not going to propose to her in a month or whatever. Right?
Yeah.
But then it's like, hey, do you have someone? No, I'm single. It's like it's like people are programmed to think that you are not seeing anyone, you are not with anyone, you don't have someone that you're considering or nothing. Like you go home by yourself. So it's like maybe
I think the boyfriend and girlfriend category makes sense for children. I think I'm just being honest, when you're in high school, maybe even college, I think it makes sense. This is my boyfriend, this is my girlfriend. But 25 plus, there's only so long you can drag out the term, this is my boyfriend, this is my girlfriend. And if I'm honest, it can feel weird to me sometimes when I hear, and people are going to hate it when I say this, but it can feel weird to me sometimes having people of a certain age say my boyfriend and my girlfriend.
They say,
just say my partner. Yeah, my partner. There's a reason for that. So, because it's like, that's weird, So that's what I'm trying to say. Like it's when you're dating someone, let's say you date someone, again, I'm talking about 25 plus, okay? Because statistically, research says if you get married under 25, you're more likely to get divorced. So I'm just going to talk about 25 plus, okay? So 25 plus, you date someone for 1 to 2 years. You're in that honeymoon phase, right? And this is what's interesting about not getting that proposal within the first 1 or 2 years, because that's as good as I wish she was going to get until you consciously work on it. So if someone doesn't see you as the ideal, like perfect, in that honeymoon phase, that might be a red flag. And I'm not going to say that it is. I'm just going to say it might. But really think about it, because I haven't read anything about it. But if you really think about it, that's when that person is supposed to see you as perfect.
Yeah.
You are perfect. You don't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
The sex is amazing. The way we talk to each other on the phone all night. We spend hours talking. We're vibing. We just like the same things. We have so much fun together within that first 1 to 2 years. So when you think about it, if there was ever a time for that person to accidentally propose to you, it would be when they think you're perfect in that first 1 to 2 years. But if that person is still struggling to make that next step in that time frame, that might be some important information to take note of, because after that, they're not going to see you more perfect. Now, as the relationship goes along, when you have 2 partners who are willing to consciously, really, truly know each other, then you can get back to that really a high space. You understand what I'm saying? But most couples don't sit in that discomfort of trying to transition from the honeymoon phase to the next phase. They don't sit in it, which is why most couples don't get to it. Because they think that once all of that feel good high wears off, that means that it's done. And that's how people can view it. I know I probably didn't answer your question.
No,
but
whatever. Listen, I don't even remember the question because that was great. Like, so I definitely get that. So, I definitely remember the question.
No, but I was just saying that first 1 to 2 years is when the person is supposed to think you're perfect.
Yeah,
that's a part of it.
Yeah,
you understand what I'm saying?
That's what the question was. The question was you said that. In your personal opinion, that you think people should cohabitate for 3 to 4 years?
No, not at all. No. Most people think that it's a good idea to live together. And if there was one thing that I would I don't want to say the word beg because that's extra. That's not what I mean. But something that I would like to see women in relationships stop doing is pressuring their partner to move in together. Because moving in together actually it's not good. It increases your chances that you're going to get divorced if you make it to the next step of marriage. That's number one. And number two, it makes you feel like you were never chosen for real. It makes you feel like you were never really the one. And there's a term for that. I think it's called inertia, like the inertia theory, which basically means that we moved in together. So naturally, the next step is a proposal in marriage. So what happens is when you're taking the logical next step into proposal in marriage, it can make both partners feel that they never got the opportunity to truly choose each other. So they can go through their relationship with this insecurity of this person didn't really choose me. It was just a convenience. Well, we're already living together. We're already merging our expenses together.
You're getting no younger, so
so it's like, why not? So then one or both partners ends up feeling like I was never really chosen. So it's actually not the best thing to do, but most people do think that moving in together is supposed to be good practice for marriage, and the logic behind it makes sense. It just doesn't really work out that way for most people.
Got it. So again, you said that people should be dating, be partners, not boyfriend and girlfriend, be partners for 3 to 4 years before taking the next step and deciding, you know what, let's get married. But you also said it's within the first 2 years that someone, let's just keep it a book. A man should want to propose to the woman that he's with. So is that kind of like your opinion, timeline of what it should be? 1 or 2 years, he should get down on one knee. Because if he doesn't, that's where the relationship is going to be the most perfect. That's where you're like, you can't do any wrong. You're so amazing. Everything is amazing, right? Yeah. And so during those first 2 years is when it should be wow. And then the next the next year or two is basically okay, now that we have this goal, right? And we're cognizant of the fact that we should be out of the honeymoon stage. Yeah. How do we interact with each other years 3 and 4? Yeah. And then proceed to marriage.
Yeah,
is that what you're saying?
that's okay. So like most people, most weddings happen, they plan them for 1 year plus before the actual I do even happens.
They can actually save a lot more too.
Yeah, actually even happens. So our culture has created this really weird thing where we think that it makes sense to have, like I said, 3 monogamous committed stages in relationships. And if you really think about it, it is really weird. Because there's supposed to be differences between being boyfriend and girlfriend, being engaged and being married, but we treat all 3 like they're exactly the same. Yeah. So it's our culture. Yeah, it's our culture is just really odd like that, you know? It's just weird. I don't know.
Interesting.
Yeah. So now again, when me saying the 3 to 4 years, that's just a personal opinion. Right. It's a personal theory. It's, it's not something that,
I understand the logic.
It just
makes sense. It's like, you getting married within a year of being with each other.
You're still
4 years. Yeah. Are you still, that's going to be a different person. Yeah. So you kind of want to know who that different person is. Yeah. And if you still want to do that. Yeah. So again, in essence, within 1 or 2 years, a proposal should happen. Or is it a promise ring? I don't even know.
I think that's, but you see all the stuff. Do you see all the stuff we do to avoid? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Promise ring of what I promised to.
I think. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Propose to you?
We just.
What is it? I don't even know what promise ring.
We just really do these things, man. Like it just. I don't know. We just do these things. I think a promise ring is cute for children. I do. I think that if you're in high school, maybe even college, undergraduate age, I don't want to say college because you could be in school until you're 35, 40, 50. Like, I mean, undergraduate, it might be cute to say promise ring, but I think after that, it's just a little bit, it's just odd. And it just seems like, to me, it just seems like a fear of commitment. That's how I read that,
Yeah. Okay. So you're telling women out there, within 1 to 2 years, if he doesn't if he doesn't at least start talking about marriage.
It's the talking. So it's the talking. Yes. It's not necessarily, it's not necessarily the proposal itself. And like you said, it's the talking about it. If he is uncomfortable talking about it, that's not a good thing.
Within the first 2 years.
It's definitely not a good thing. If he doesn't even want a vision plan with you, where he's not talking about, saying things like, hey, babe, I was thinking about this today. You said you want 2 kids and I do too, right? Yeah. So if one of us has to move, for work, like how are we going to manage that? Are we, are you going to move wherever I go? There's an expectation that I go wherever you go because you can work anywhere because you work from home. Like, are these conversations being had? Because if they're being avoided, or if they're usually being brought up by the woman, or if there's a discomfort when those conversations are happening, I'm just saying those things can be red flags. Because if there's, like I said, if there's any time for him to see you as the best person in the world or the most amazing woman he's ever met, it's probably going to be within those first 2 years. Now, what I truly believe in is conscious dating. And it's so interesting because often when you talk to people, especially women, which is so funny, about the idea of conscious dating, they can feel like that's not real love. Because they're like, it should be serendipity, and I should be in a room somewhere and he just sees me across the room and he spots me out of all the women in the room. It's me. So often women can avoid wanting to do the conscious dating, which means
reading a romance novel.
Yeah, can want to avoid the conscious dating, which is saying, this is the vision that I want. This is the values that I want in a man. These are the goals that I want. So you can kind of think about it kind of like in an arranged type of way. Like vision, values, goals and all of that stuff. Because for them, the true love is in the happenstance. In their minds, at least. Even though they've had 10 boyfriends through the happenstance and it didn't work out, there's something in the mind that wants to believe that at some point that happenstance is going to work out. So for a lot of women, they can avoid that wanting to consciously choose a partner because in their minds, it should just happen in this like very romantic whirlwind, type of way. Like I went on vacation to Italy and there was this Italian man, you know what I mean? Like that's, I'm just saying, often there's these like stories that we build up in our minds and some people can feel more comfortable in the stories, even though they realize that in real walking life, they don't have the result that they want. Getting rid of those stories can feel very uncomfortable and scary. You know what I'm saying? So consciously choosing a partner, especially for women, can be like, that's not real love then, that's what can happen in the mind often.
Yeah. Okay. So 1 to 2 years, he doesn't mean he has to propose. No. Within 1 to 2 years, he should be at the very least, if you are bringing up, or he should bring up conversations too. He should be receptive to the conversations regarding family and future and house and things like that. Right. Basically what are we questions, right? He should be open to discussing that. And, or, what kind of ring do you like type of thing, or whatever it is that should be, that should be in the question. And then after the next 3-4 years,
to the next couple
after
years.
the next, so first 2 years and then 1-2 years later, which was 3-4 years total. That's when the proposal, that's when it's like hey, let's get a date type of thing should be happening. The proposal or let's set the date for our wedding. But again, that's a personal opinion because when you're 25 plus, how many more years do you need to feel like I really know this person? Here's my question though.
You understand what I'm saying?
So then just to wrap it up again, 1-2 years, first 4 years, years 1 and 2, doesn't mean that he has to propose, but some type of question about the next step should be happening by the end of the second year. Years 3 and 4, somewhere in there, the proposal should be happening. Right?
That's personal opinion. Yes.
Right. And then by 5, guys should be tying it out. Okay, cool. Okay. From when I scour social media and the things I see a lot of women saying is, why get married?
Yeah, but I was talking about people that want it.
Okay.
If you don't want it,
got you. That's a different. Okay, got you.
Then I'm not going to tell you have to want it.
Got it. Okay,
no.
That's all I was asking. Okay, cool.
Yeah, no, people that don't want it, do you? Like, I'm not talking to those people. I'm talking to the men and women who desire that. Because we can lie all that we want to, but there is no other better protection for your relationship than marriage. You can be boyfriend and girlfriend forever. You can live together forever, but there's a certain level of, for example, couples who live together are much more likely to not view cheating as cheating than couples who are married. Meaning, if we are not, I'll try and explain to you what I mean. We're boyfriend and girlfriend. We live together. But am I really cheating though if I date somebody else? Versus when people are married, people know it's cheating.
Oh,
where they're like, I'm just trying to tell you.
It's not like I'm married or nothing.
Right. So you can live together until forever. For example, they're in Sweden, most people actually cohabitate. They live together and they do it well. But there's a lot of reasons for that. The government gives benefits for that. People stand on their morals is another reason. So if a man and a woman say they're going to do something, they do it. So there's reasons for that. But in our culture, it just doesn't work out as well.
So in other words, if he liked it, then he should have put a ring on it, pretty much.
Yeah. I mean, what else would it mean? And again, that means if you desire marriage. If you don't, I'm not speaking to you. That would be absurd. If you don't get married, don't get married. I don't.
Because there are going to be people who are going to hear this and they're going to hear, so everyone has to get married?
No, if you don't get married, please, by all means, don't.
Yeah.
You're doing more harm than good if you don't want to get married and you think you're obligated to, because in our society, you're not forced to marry anybody if you don't want to.
Yeah.
You don't have to. No, not at all. I'm not saying that at all. I'm speaking to the people who desire marriage, whether you're a man or a woman. If you desire to have a husband one day or you desire to have a wife one day, those are the people that I'm talking to, not the ones that are like, I want to be single forever or bachelor forever or I never want to get married, type. I'm not talking to those people. That would be weird.
Okay. All right. So so understand all that. Okay. So did you have like anything else that you wanted to discuss today or add on or?
Yeah. Another problem with love is, like you were saying, some couples can think that they're still in the honeymoon stage because they're still having sex. So another thing that I think is important for people to know is that it's not only love that's having problems, it's the sexual relationships in relationships that's also having a huge problem. We did a video a while ago about men lie, women lie. There are things that when it comes to sex that men lie about. There are things that when it comes to sex that women lie about. And people's sexual relationships are really harmed by the lies that are told. Like I was one of the... Okay, so I was reading about... I'm sorry. So often men, if you tell a lot of men, 3 out of 4 women can't orgasm through penetration alone. A lot of men will tell you, that can't be right. Every girl I ever was with, told me that she did. It's like, yes, because women are conditioned in society, trained to fake it and to lie because they don't want to hurt your feelings. That's just, no, but it's true. You understand what I'm saying? There are stories you read about women who are in marriages for 10 years and say they faked it the entire time and never told their partner. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. So the reason I wanted to talk about that is because often people try and have the conversation about what comes first, the emotional intimacy or the physical or the sex. Often people are like, should you have the sex first and then that creates the emotional connection, or should you have the emotional connection and then have the sex? It's like asking the question of the chicken or the egg, which one comes first? But if we think about most relationships begin with the emotional first. Because most people don't go first date. They're, it happens, but I'm just saying relationships don't tend to start like that. It tends to start with the emotional first and then the physical and the sex tends to come after that. So because of that, I say that the emotional always has to come first before the physical. And that's when men will get mad, because most men are opposite, where they feel like they connect through sex with their partner, and their partner can feel like, how am I going to have sex with you when I'm mad at you? Like we're not emotionally connected right now. But often when we say a lot of relationship advice, and it makes sense that men can feel like, oh, why is it always me that has to do something? Why do I have to be the one to change? The answer to that is simple. When you first met your partner, when you first met your wife, the emotional connection came first in the majority of situations. And throughout your relationship, the emotional connection is going to have to come first, and then the sex will come second. And if you can radically accept that and recognize that doesn't mean something wrong with your relationship, then whatever sexual quality or whatever you're looking for can then follow. And the reason why I was laughing is because, I was reading this book from a sex therapist, and she was saying that often men will say things like, why do I have to stimulate her clitoris? Why do I have to do this extra stuff? Just to, they see it as extra stuff. Like, why do I have to do this extra stuff? just to get her.
Because I didn't see in the porn you watched.
just to get her to orgasm. And she was trying to explain. She was saying that, okay, so she explains it. She's like, the female clitoris has about 8,000 nerve endings. The male penis has about 2,000 nerve endings. And then she says, the female clitoris and the male penis are made up of the same tissues. They're made up of the same tissues. So then she goes and she says, saying, why do men have to do the clitoral stimulation is like, is like a man rubbing his sack, basically, even though it might feel good to have it touched, and that she has expectation that he can orgasm from that. So she was basically saying that's the expectation that men have when they expect women to orgasm from penetration alone. Is like her expecting that you should be able to orgasm simply from her tickling you a little bit. And she was saying it's basically the same thing. And I just thought it was hilarious.
That is pretty
funny. And it just had me dying. I won't even lie. Because I was like, that is just so funny, you know.
That's pretty stupid. You're saying that the connection you're making in terms of like love is basically like how sexual chemistry or lack thereof can affect the relationship per se.
Yeah, most couples actually never had good sexual chemistry. They just don't know that. When they get past that honeymoon phase, that's when they start to realize like our sex life isn't that great. You know, they start to want other things, but they don't know how to be vulnerable with their partner enough to say, hey, I would like this or I would like that. Not that they don't know how to, they just don't feel comfortable doing, because a lot of people think that especially women, if he really wants me, it should be natural. It should just happen. So they feel like if they go and say, hey, this is what I want, then it takes away that natural spontaneity that if he truly wanted me, you know, would have happened. So,
which comes from like what, movies or
probably? I mean, we're just probably. I mean, in the movies, they don't usually show the wet spot on the bed for a reason, you know.
Or wiping off or towels.
They don't show that stuff.
They do it. They turn no sticky stuff anywhere.
Yeah.
It's
just perfect. Everything her hair falls perfectly on the pillow. It doesn't get in her eyes, you know. He doesn't have to pull anything out of his mouth. It's just they don't show that stuff. They just don't. So people have this ideal that in relationships, their sexual interaction should work out the same way that they see when they watch a movie. It's men, it's when they're watching porn, and women when they're watching this whatever 50 movie,
Shades of Grey crap,
whatever it is that they're watching that's making them think that this is the way. If this was real, this is what it would look like. If this was real, this is what it would feel like. You know, and we do all these things that harm our relationships. That's why I say the problems with love, because sometimes that love expectation does more harm than good for people's relationships and for themselves. And people can spend an entire lifetime chasing an ideal that just they don't recognize doesn't even exist.
And they think they'll find it on the other grass over there. The grass is always
it's always going to be greener. Yeah. And of course it's going to be greener. You created the story in your head. So, you know, of course. It's like if you go in a store and I show you a table and I say, can you imagine a better table? You can be like, yeah. You can make up whatever story you want in our mind. So the grass is always going to be greener because the grass is in our head.
So is it fair to say? Yeah.
You can make whatever color you want in your mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it fair to say that it's, you know how they say the whole thing is cheaper to keep her type of thing?
Yeah.
Is it more beneficial for people if you found someone that you vibed with? And you okay, now 2 years are gone, right? Is it that people need to learn, like you said earlier, people need to learn that, hey, about what the next stage is. And one, to expect it, and
it's
two, and what to do when you're in it.
Yeah.
And then that would save a lot more relationships.
Yeah, because most couples break up in that tension of from that honeymoon phase to when they're transitioning, because to them, they think that's what falling out of love is. You understand what I'm saying? They think that's what it is.
Okay, so then who is responsible? So is that something our parents are supposed to show us? Like how do people who live in this world where you see how TV, how the Disneyfication of love is, right? It's, again, he sees her from across the room. Oh my God, who, me? Only me? Whatever. And then the sex is perfect and he has a European accent.
Yes.
And he paints and crap. I don't freaking know. Whatever.
He's a duke.
He's yeah.
From somewhere.
Yes. He's the count of or duke of whatever. And oh my God, why is this happening to me? Type of crap. Right? Boom.
Yeah.
And it's like there's this expectation. And then then it's like people are looking for reasons why this isn't happening. This isn't working.
Yeah.
And
they're looking for
there it is.
They're looking for issues in their relationship that probably don't even exist. So that's why, we talk a lot about what men do and what women do. And it's just because it simplifies conversation. So often we say men do this, women do that. You'll find people that don't fall into those categories can get very upset. It's like, I don't do that.
Yeah.
Well, no, but we're just saying men and women just to simplify.
Yeah.
For the sake of brevity, I guess, just to simplify the conversation. But it's much more helpful for couples to focus on their personalities much more than it's helpful for them to focus on their partner's gender, by far.
Yeah.
So that's always going to be, but it is. It's always going to be more helpful. What?
You mean, okay.
Meaning she's emotional because she's a woman.
Oh,
he's
okay.
not emotional enough because he's a man.
Right.
But they could be reversed in their relationship. He could be much more emotionally sensitive than she is. But people like to feel like, oh, well, they say women are emotional. That means you're the emotional one in our relationship. Or, oh, well, they say men are emotionally unavailable. So you're the emotionally unavailable. That's why I'm saying it's much more helpful. Even though people all over the place, including us on our channel, will say men and women, it's just much more helpful for partners to focus on their personalities, their own personality and their partner's personality much more than it's ever going to be helpful for them to deal with gender stereotypes about what a man is supposed to be, how he's supposed to act, what he's supposed to be good at, and the same for a woman. That's what I'm saying.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Well, did you have anything more to add or?
No, that was pretty much it.
Okay. Well, once again, good conversation. Very interesting. Anyway, thank you everyone for joining us for another week of Couples Development Podcast. As always, those of you who are watching us on YouTube, those of you watching us on YouTube, please leave a like. Please, if you aren't subscribed already, just do that. It helps us out, and I think we're sending good, positive, important information out there. We're not trying to divide people, we're trying to bring people together. Help us out. Leave a comment. Let us know what you like. Let us know what you don't like, and share with your stuck in their ways friends who just think that the next one that's going to be the right one is around the corner, so they can kind of wake up and snap out of it. Thank you for joining us. We're grateful for you guys, and have a good rest of your week. Bye-bye.